My name is Victor. I am the occult technician, and this is Mind War. Mind War is sponsored by Victory Work Apparel. Use promo code Mind War. Join the Mind War today. Enlist at patreon.com/mindwar. Now, back to the show. Welcome back to Mind War, folks. I appreciate you being here. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. Folks, we made it to the third and final section of the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. Today we'll begin working through the practice of the magical techniques that we've discussed throughout the Mind War series on magic so far. We're going to get deeper into some of those magical techniques. But before we do, we have to take a minute to review where we've been throughout this series so far. Now, with the Mind War series on the Gateway Experience tapes, one of the things that we learned from Robert Monroe, the creator of the Gateway Experience tapes, was something called the preparatory process. Now, this was a few techniques that Robert Monroe taught us that we had to do at the beginning of each of the Gateway Experience tapes when we listened to them. We had things like our energy conversion box, our resonant tuning, and our resonant energy balloon. These techniques prepared us, got us into the state of mind, into the state of being that we needed to do to then continue on and learn the deeper techniques that Robert Monroe was going to teach us in each of the individual tapes. Because again, remember, each of the tapes, he was teaching us deeper, basically white magic techniques, right? We had things like healing ourselves in our living body map. We learned things like how to have an out-of-body experience, remote viewing, and astral travel. These are all of the techniques, advanced techniques, that you learn throughout the Gateway Experience tapes. But in order to prepare yourself to even attempt any of these advanced techniques that Robert Monroe was teaching us, we had to again go through our preparatory process. The same thing goes for actually practicing magic, and we've talked about that in the first two sections in this series on magic, right? So let's go over our preparatory process for actually doing magic, right? So when you first start practicing magic, there are several things I would suggest you do. Of course, you don't have to. You may be limited on time, your ability, your need to actually begin practicing. But like I've said before, 90 days of sobriety is really important. I think that's the first step. Again, it may not be doable for everyone, but that is a suggestion. During those 90 days, you're going to begin preparing to actually practice magic, okay? You're going to be gathering the things that you need in order to do the magical practice, the ceremonies, the rituals, right? Now, once you get to that place and you're ready to actually begin, now say it's the full moon or a new moon or whatever day of the week or month or year, whatever day that you've chosen to do magic, now you're ready to actually do the practice. For me, again, my suggestions, and again, you don't have to follow any of these particularly, right? This is the beauty of what we do here, this sort of chaos magic. You can find your own techniques, right? But again, these are sort of that preparatory process. So for me, it's important. I like to clean my house I like to clean myself, prepare my physical body for the ritual and that we're about to conduct. I like to have a light meal, maybe do a little bit of exercise, get the blood flowing, and really be prepared. Try to center myself as much as I can. And then once you're ready, then you take the low-dose THC and the low-dose psilocybin, aka a little bit of weed through maybe some gummies and a little bit of magic mushrooms, right? Normally, I would then wait 45 minutes to an hour for those substances to take effect. And then we listen to one of the Gateway Experience tapes, whichever tape that, if you're listening to them in a linear fashion, or like myself, now that I've listened to the entire series, I can go back and cherry pick whichever tape that I want to listen to for that specific ceremony or ritual that I'm going to be doing later in the evening, so that you're going to listen to one of the Gateway Experience tapes. When you do this, now the THC and psilocybin, they're having an effect on you. When you listen to the tapes, you are going to do, basically self-hypnosis, right? A lot of people are afraid of being hypnotized. But again, remember, in the Gateway Experience tapes, Robert Monroe teaches us how to hypnotize ourselves. It's not someone else hypnotizing us and controlling us like you see on, stage magicians do. This is self-hypnosis. Once we are finished listening to the tape and we've got ourselves and gone through this hypnosis process and got ourselves there, we now find ourselves in the state of somnambulance. We've talked about that quite a bit throughout this book and in earlier seasons of the Mind War podcast. And again, the state of somnambulance is, the definition of it is sleepwalking. And that is crucial. That is the state of mind and the physical state of your body that you need to be in to practice magic. I do not believe that you can be sober-minded and, flipping through the tarot cards as fast as you can, or, looking at the crystal ball, whatever it is, if you are just sober-minded. I do not believe that's how this works. From what we've learned in this book, Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl, somnambulance is a crucial state of being. It's the state of being you must be in to truly practice magic. So now that we find ourselves in this state, now we can go in front of the altar. And again, you've prepared your altar prior for whatever it is you might want to be doing throughout your ceremony, throughout your ritual, right? You may want to pull tarot cards. You may want to stare into the obsidian ball or the black mirror. Those things are going to be set up prior. Because again, once you get into that state of somnambulance, it can be sort of difficult to just function, right? It is a strange combination of being focused, but also it's sort of difficult to control your extremities at times. And again, with a lot of practice, because again, this is the practice section, you will perfect it and you'll understand what you need to do as you're going through your work, right? So again, now that you are in the state of somnambulance, this sleepwalking state, you're in front of your altar, you are listening to your hypnotic music, and we're going to talk about that in future episodes here, coming up very soon. The hypnotic music is going to help keep you in that trance-like state, that state of somnambulance. And then, again, you're going to use some of the magic techniques that we've talked about. Things like the stare. We use the stare in order to face our demons in the black mirror. So throughout the remainder of this series, I have a whole list of magical techniques that I've been really itching to tell you folks about. But I knew we had to wait till we got to this section of the book. And I think we're going to be able to really dive deep into some of these more advanced magical techniques, right? But now that we are we're in the state of mind. The altar's there in front of us. We have our music going, and we are using these magical techniques, and now we're actually practicing magic. We're in the state of mind. We have our tools available for us. We have our purpose for that evening or that day's magical ceremony or ritual. You know why you're there. You know what you're doing. And you have a laser-like focus to your purpose. And again, that purpose can be things like manifestation. And it's beautiful. When you do this, when you get into this state of mind and you begin to try to, imagine and manifest the things in your life, it isn't like we've talked about before. You're just creating some type of wishing board, a vision board of all these things you want. That's not what it is. You really tap into that cosmic dynamic force, the absolute, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. You tap into it. And really what you're doing is asking it to manifest the things in your life that you truly need. And that's what I've found. So many times I went into the magic with the egocentric purpose, thinking that I needed to be this, that, or the other. And once I got into that state and really freed myself of the ego, the manifestation began to really guide the way. The path became more clear in front of me, which led to what you're seeing here today, the Mind War podcast. I have several years more of art projects I have to do. It feels amazing to kind of see this project render in front of you. And now the goal, again, as we've talked about before, there is no manifestation without imagination. Now that I have imagined the goal, well, now I have to put in the work, and that's what you're seeing here. So, again, this is that magical preparatory process. These are the same steps that you're going to be doing each time you go into your ritual, each time you go into your ceremony. These are the basics. I believe, like I've stated already, I believe you have to do these things in order to get into the state of mind to then practice whatever you want. Again, here in the Mind War, I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm not telling you to choose a specific religion, choose a specific political ideology. Nothing like that. I'm not here telling you to join an organization or a corporation or an institution. None of those things. I've been very clear. Believe what you want. You can use these techniques to practice Christianity if you like. If you want to really know who this Jesus character is, if you want to really understand your Bible, try viewing him in your black mirror. Call Jesus into the mirror and allow him to speak through you and to you. I dare you. I dare you to try it. And tell me what you find on the other side. You'll find some truth about the religions that have been forced upon us today, right? But again, it's not about me trying to tell you what to believe. I'm simply trying to show you the procedures and the steps that you need to do that are really universal for all of us to get into a state to practice magic, whatever type of magic you want. Even if you don't want to call it magic, if you just want to call it worship, go ahead. But that's the purpose. That's the purpose of what we're doing here. To open your mind, to free your mind from the societal, cultural, and religious wet blankets, if that's what you need to do in order to truly think clearly for the first time, to think on your own for the first time, to come up and understand maybe some of your own concepts and your own thoughts and beliefs for the very first time in your life. That's what we do here. And that's what this magical preparatory process is all about. Getting us into the state of mind where we can have a clear mind and be ready and open to learn new knowledge. Now, when we return in just a second here, we're going to begin talking about some of those advanced magical techniques. They are going to be a departure from all of the things we've talked about throughout the Mind War podcast thus far. Because so far, folks, we've only talked about white magic. I've maybe given some hints or left a few breadcrumbs about black magic and the dark arts, but thus far, it's all been white magic. And when we return, we're going to actually dive into the dark arts, the black magic, the darker side of what we're going to do here. So just a little warning for all of you. The things that you're about to hear, you're not going to be able to unhear. Once you learn this knowledge, you won't be able to forget it. One of the issues with that is humans are very curious. Okay? You might hear the things that we're going to talk about and say, well, I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that. That's not going to be part of my practice at all. The problem is that once you have the knowledge, that curiosity is going to start eating away at you. And you may find yourself doing some of these magical techniques that we're going to discuss throughout the rest of this series. And the reason that I say that this is sort of a warning is because some of these techniques that I've done, I haven't been able to undo. And we'll talk about that more in just a moment. All right, welcome back, folks. So again, just a word of warning. The things that you are about to hear, you will not be able to unhear. The knowledge that you are about to gain, you will not be able to forget. Even if you disavow it and say in your heart of hearts that you are not going to do any of these magical techniques, these advanced magical techniques that we're about to discuss, that focus more on the dark arts, black magic, if you will, you're not going to be able to forget them. And again, even if you disavow them, that curiosity inside you may push you to the point where you start to practice these things. This is the man at the beginning of Hellraiser with the box. You are about to open it, and your life will forever change because of what you're about to learn and what you're about to do if you do these practices. Now, again, I've told you, I've been waiting for so long to teach these things and share them with you. This is really the pinnacle of my work here in the Mind War podcast. And this first magical technique that we're going to talk about, I really thought about saving this for the final episode, but we're just going to dive deep into it right now. This is the darkest, most transformative magical technique that I've practiced. This is the one that I have not been able to reverse. So again, if you don't want to hear this, it might be time to turn off the show. But for those of you who are in it for the long run and who are willing to open that Hellraiser box, here we go. So I have alluded to this practice a few times in earlier episodes, particularly the episode from where we talked about the video I made on Easter of 2023, the one about the shadow spiders. Okay. So remember, when I was explaining to you that night where I was so angry, and I was standing in the darkness in my living room, and I was inhaling through my mouth and exhaling out my nose. When I was exhaling out of my nose, I was exhaling shadow spiders. This was the imaginations. This is what I was envisioning in my mind as I was standing there, full of anger, full of rage. Breathing in through my mouth and exhaling through my nose. Now, why is that important? Because that is partially the reversal of what we've been taught. What do I mean by that? During the Gateway Experience tapes, Robert Monroe taught us about our resonant energy balloon, where we visualize ourselves, right? We breathe in through our nose, right? As we are breathing in through our nose, we are visualizing white light coming up through our feet. White, brilliant, healing light, full of love. As we breathe inwards, the light comes up from the bottom of our feet and it moves upwards through our body. As it does, it's refilling our chakras. Each one of our chakras is lighting up in the bright, beautiful colors. While we're doing this practice, not only is it a breathing and visualization technique, but you're also doing your Kundalini. You are pushing those chemicals up into your brain. Okay? For those of you who are listening, that is the fountain of youth. I hope you all understand that. As an old man, when I do this practice, I feel healing. I feel energized. This is the fountain of youth that we've all heard about, okay? It flows out the top of our head, right? When we exhale, we see the white light flowing from the top of our head. It falls down around us in our sphere, in our ball, in the resonant energy balloon that we've encased ourselves in. That white light falls down around us, and then we breathe back in through our nose, and it's refilling our chakras again, right? We've talked about that over and over. What happens when you reverse that process? The duality of life and the duality of magic is what we're now talking about. We are no longer talking about white magic. We are now talking about black magic. When you are angry, when you are full of hate, you breathe in not through your nose, but through your mouth. As you inhale through your mouth, you are going to reverse the energy flow. No longer is it white light flowing up through your feet. No. Now it is darkness flowing into your mind. Whereas before, again, with our resonant energy balloon, the white healing light would pour out of the top of our heads like a fountain and come down all around us. But now we reverse it, and it's darkness that we pull into our mind. And then, as we exhale out our nose, we push the darkness downward. When you do this, when you visualize this, it's literally the black goo from the movies that you've heard. This darkness that is flowing into your brain from your top chakra into your mind, as it spills down around your chakras, they get covered in darkness. They get covered in this black goo. And then you push that darkness, that anger, that hatred, you push it down out of your feet this time. Instead of the white healing light flowing into your feet and upwards, we now push the darkness down and out of our feet, and then it wells up around us, back into our crown, back into our mind. Your resonant energy balloon goes from this brilliant white light into a sphere of darkness all around you. And again, this is a technique that I have not been able to undo. I've tried several times creating my resonant energy balloon, refilling my chakra with a white, brilliant light, having them change into their beautiful colors. But despite how much I try, it's all still black. It's just darkness. This again is used not in the way where throughout the beginning we were trying to do the healing, the white magic. This technique is used to process your hate and your anger. We're not trying to deal with the anger. We're not trying to move past the hatred. No. When you use this technique, you are strengthening your hate. You are strengthening your anger. Now, one of the things that I found with this, and I practiced this technique several times over and over and over again, this reversed resonant energy balloon. On the porch, like I told you before, when I was staring at the statue. You can do this technique the same way that we talked about in the past, where you're doing your breath work, you're creating your resonant energy balloon as you do the stare at whatever object or idol, statue, whatever it is you want to stare at. And even sober-minded, the statue is going to start to shake and shimmer and melt. The world around you will shimmer and melt if you breathe long enough, breathe deep enough, in correspondence, in rhythm with the music that you're going to be listening to. And you hold the stare without blinking. Your eyes will start to shift the world around you. You can do the same with this reversed resonant energy balloon. Breathing in the darkness through the top of your head as you breathe, as you inhale through your mouth, and then pushing that darkness downward as you exhale through your nose. And this is what I found next. I've never done any deep research into this spirit entity known as Abraxas, okay? I've really only seen pictures of them. Maybe read a few captions that there are secret societies that believe that Abraxas is the actual creator of the universe and life and everything that we are, right? So I don't know the details about him. That's not what I'm here to do, right? I hope you all understand that thus far here in the Mind War. I'm not here to, go over every single monster and give you every esoteric story. I've already kind of disavowed the esoteric silliness of occultism, where they try to trap us in these symbols. They don't tell us any useful steps to actually practicing magic. It's why I'm doing this podcast. It's why I say that I hope to be one of Generation X's greatest occultists. Because I'm bringing magic to the people. I'm showing you how to do it. Not just talking about esoteric symbolism that goes over everyone's head. All of that stuff is fluff. It's distraction. It can become important once you actually learn the basics of really practicing magic, and that's what we're doing here. So again, I didn't know much of Abraxas, but I did know this. When I would stand there, one night I was standing in my yard, very angry, very upset, looking at my house, right? And I am exhaling out my nose. And as I did, that darkness went out both of my legs. It goes downwards, right? When you look at a picture of Abraxas, his legs are black snakes. My legs, through visualization, through my imagination, became black dragons, black snakes. And they began to swirl up around me. And now I'm visualizing them flying around my head like an anime movie. 2 giant black dragons swirling around my head as I am doing this reverse resonant energy balloon. I inhale them into my mind, and now they're swirling around in my mind. This is visualization, folks. You visualize them as you exhale out your nose. You're pushing them down. They swirl around your chakras, turning them black. And then they exit one out of each leg and back. And they create that cycle. While I was doing this, I felt strengthened, empowered, emboldened in what we do here. I visualized those dragons getting larger and larger and larger, swirling above my home. And at that moment, I said, I called out to them. It's not a wish. It was not a command. It's just a communication with them of, please be my guardians. Be my guardians as I work through this topic of magic. As I try to learn and share with others the actual practice of magic. Be my guardians. It's a beautiful imagination practice. It's a beautiful practice of visualization. I don't fully know what any of this means. Again, I don't know how to reverse what I've done here. My chakras are still covered in darkness. I don't necessarily know that it's a bad thing. I think it's just part of the duality of life. It's the duality of magic. It's literally the black and white checkerboard floor here, folks. Now, why is this important? My note here, very simple. It was anger that motivated me to teach and share with all of you what we're doing now. It wasn't the healing side of magic that pushed me to do this, that motivated me to do this. No, it was the anger. It was the hatred. Not just anger and hatred for the things that were going on in my personal life. Really, what I found was the anger and hatred for those who have kept this information and knowledge hidden from all of us. Hidden in their secret societies. If this is even what they do, if they even have this type of knowledge, which my guess is many of them don't. My guess is that the majority of those who call themselves the highest grand masters of their secret societies, I don't think they know any of this. I think all they've done is repeated the same nonsensical ceremonies and rituals in order to gain better business partners. I think there are very few out there who've actually done what we're talking about here in the Mind War podcast. Again, this is our first and in many ways darkest magical techniques that I'm going to share with you. Now, of course, We've heard about all sorts of occultists and magicians doing all sorts of sick and disgusting things as part of their magical practices. I don't promote any of that here. It's not what it is. If part of your magical practice involves you hurting yourself or hurting others, you are on the wrong path. As far as I'm concerned, you might as well just, call yourself a Christian, or you might as well just be part of one of the other regular religions out there, right? Because that's the type of shit they do. That's not what we do here in the Mind War. But what we do is we harness our energy. And in this case, with this reversed resonant energy balloon, it was anger, it was hatred that motivated me to do those things, to do this technique here. Again, inhaling through your mouth. As you do, you're envisioning the darkness from the abyss, funneling into the top of your mind. As you exhale throughout your nose, you are pushing that darkness down, covering your chakras in the black goo. It drips down from one chakra to the next, completely covering them. And then you push that anger and you push that hatred out through your legs. And then breathe it back in through the top of your mind. While you do that, you can visualize the black dragons, the black serpent legs of Abraxas. You can send them out to do your dirty work. Whatever you need, again, this is your magic. But I thought it was important to share maybe this darkest magical technique that I've discovered on this first episode back to the book Magic History Theory Practice. We are on the section of practice. This is the third and final section of this book. And this is, again, where we're going to get into these deeper, more advanced magical techniques. And the one I just shared with you, I think that may be one of the darkest. And we're going to continue on through our work from the book Magic History Theory Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl in just a moment. All right, welcome back, folks. We are going to begin the section of practice from the book Magic History Theory Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. It starts on page 91. The section again is titled Practice. And it starts with this. All magic emanates from the body and from the incarnated, from the pictorial material appearances of existence. And in quotes here, it says, their being. There as in a location, their being. That the body and things only possess phenomenal reality has nothing to do with it, since there exists no other reality for any kind of consciousness than the one of perception, the object, and the appearance. But in a reality without consciousness, we would only have nonsense. The body and things are the basic contents of existence, and divination of the body and embodiment of God are the access of all magic. So again, the body and the things around us, right? The material objects around us, all the other living things are the basic contents of existence. That is existence to us. And like we just heard here, if you don't have a consciousness in that body, your life is just nonsense. You're maybe just going through the motions. And we hear more and more that there may be large swaths of the profane who literally are not conscious. We know them as NPCs or non-playable characters. There might be something to that, folks. There may be something in our physiological makeup that doesn't allow some people to actually have a conscience, right? They're more just, again, acting off of animal instinct. Living off of instinct is not the same as being conscious, right? There's a huge difference there. Because when you're conscious, you can set aside your animal instinct. You can set it aside for a moment and say, I'm not going to fulfill this desire that my physical body is trying to, it's screaming at me right now. It's hungry, it's tired, whatever the issue is that your physical body might be feeling. If you can set that aside and postpone that pleasure or whatever it may be, because you know that you have something more important to do. That's consciousness. That's growth. That's intellect. Not just living through the, low impulse desires of the animal instincts, right? So the body and things are the basic contents of existence and divination of the body. The embodiment of God are the access of all magic. The center, the access of magic is not only having your physical body, but also bringing the spirit into it, bringing that consciousness into it, breathing life into yourself, if you will, breathing consciousness into your life, maybe for the first time. Because again, what do we talk about here in the Mind War podcast? We are trying to remove the societal, cultural, and wet blankets that have been forced upon us. Even if you are an intellectual, even if you're a very smart person, if you've never had a real thought in your life and you're only regurgitating the things that other people have told you, if you're only doing certain things because everyone has said, well, this is just how we've always done it, you have no consciousness, man. There's no life inside you. If you don't push back against the we've always done it this way, there's nothing in you, man. You're just an NPC. And if that's your life, go for it. I have no problem with people just living the mundane, profane life. Have at you. The problem is when those people with no consciousness, those NPC characters, right? When they get sucked into an organization, corporation, or institution that's whole purpose is to poison, pollute our minds, poison our bodies, and corrupt our souls. They become foot soldiers for these things. That's where we have to stand up against them. That's where we either have to wake them up, breathe consciousness into their physical body, or defeat them in whatever way that they need to be defeated, right? Because only when we bring these spirits in can we then start to have higher thoughts, higher intellectual thought processes, and make real change. Because that's what we're doing here, folks. That's what we're doing here in the Mind War. It's not only our personal battle, but we're trying to change culture and open up culture a little bit. And I know this is the weirdest place to try to find the beginning of a new culture. The Mind War podcast with Victor, the occult technician, right? It's a fucking uphill battle, okay? Because we're starting at a very strange place. I'm a very strange man, teaching you and sharing with you things that you've maybe never heard before in your life, because we've been told they're evil. And like we've learned throughout this book many times, the magician, not only will the magician be looked at as evil because he's standing up to the mediocrity of the current state of being, but the Volk or the folk or the mind warriors, citizen samurais, guerrilla gurus, and warrior monks, you will be thought of as evil also, because you're standing up against the organizations, corporations, and institutions. It's not an easy game to play. It's small, incremental steps to our Aristos. There is going to be no big overnight victory here in this culture war. And it's not going to be one on the right or the left. It is that extreme centrism. That's where the battle is going to be won. That's where the victory and the victors will come from. The center, the extreme center. Not the moderate milquetoast center that just lets people walk all over them, but no, extreme common sense that is forced upon people who have been forcing upon us nonsense. Those of us who have lived our lives wrapped up in their lies and their silliness and their fables and their fairy tales that have led us astray over and over and over again. Those who have taught us to hate ourselves, we're standing up against them. And it's a huge battle. And this is just the beginning, man. The mind war has just started. The Mind War podcast is the first shot fired in the mind war. Now, of course, we've all been fighting against the psyops that have been going on forever, right? But the mind war starts here. Let's go on here. It says, what Frederick Gundolf said about antique life in its entirety applies especially to magic and its omissions. So again, one of the things that we've learned throughout this book is reaching back into antiquity, reaching back into the life of our ancestors prior to the Judeo-Christian, Islamic, Abrahamic bullshit fairy tale that's been forced down everyone's throat. We are reaching back to what life was like prior to this destructive, one of the most destructive forces in all of human history is the religion of the Judeo-Christian Islamic paradigm. It's one of the most destructive forces. It's destroying the planet today, not only physically through war, but it's destroying everyone's minds. So we have to reach back into antiquity. We have to go back and visit our ancestors in our mind and say, what was life like prior to all of this garbage? They are all only thinkable among people who are affirming the sensually limited existence, sanctify, divinize, and typify the invisible as force, instinct, felt as fate, anticipated notional life. Thereby one must not fashionably perceive the body as a physiological apparatus, but as a metaphysical essence, and not perceive divination as a psychological experience, deification, but as a cultic act and a mythical display. The cultic act of God embodiment is the sanctification, the magic, which calls or bands the godly into human form or human space. To it belongs the innermost being, seized and being filled by the appearing, with the whole being, consistently with all senses, received godly presence, the construction and impact of the divine in the whole given existence. The divination of the body is something completely different from the deification of the body, of the bodily functions. The embodiment of God is equally strong and high, if not a stricter and tougher religion than the world fiendish. Bringing these spirits into yourself. Again, what does that mean? Are we possessing ourselves with some type of spirit or demon that's floating around there in the abyss? No, that's not what it is. Again, these demons represent the human condition. They represent human emotion. So do the angels. The angels represent the better side of man, where demons represent more of the difficulties that we face here on earth as humans, right? When you embody those things, you bring those characteristics into yourself. If the time that you live calls for anger and hatred, then that's what you're going to embody. And that right now is the world we live in. Because we have been gaslit so hard by the organizations, corporations, and institutions that rule our lives, they have created a fake reality for us to live in. A reality of lies, a reality of hatred towards us and ourselves that we will no longer stand for. And so now, at this time in human history, we must embody hatred. We must embody anger for those who have come against us. It's okay to do that. Now, that's very different than what the author was talking about there, because he was saying two things. There's the deification, right? Again, you can fall right in line with the Judeo-Christian Islamic fairy tale. And you can deify your own body by following all of their rules and having no original thoughts of your own. Go for it, man. You can be their little walking God, their little walking Jesus or Abraham or Muhammad or whoever the fuck, right? And you can be their fucking foot soldier. And you can be their fucking cannon fodder. That's all you are if that's what you're doing. But that's not what we do here in the Mind War. That's not what the Mind Warriors, citizen samurais, guerrilla gurus, and warrior monks do. We have freed our minds. We've seen through the illusion of culture and society and religion. We clearly see who our enemy is now. And we welcome into us those spirits that we need to motivate us and push us forward in the coming Mind War battle. The sacral basic tone of the sanctification, as an emission of the magic center, has a ring through the whole existence and form, and from this elevated line, the last upswing and the darkest crashes have to occur. Again, as we are making this change from the dark ages, from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, into the age of enlightenment, into the coming golden era, there is going to be upswings and darkest crashes. There are going to be difficult times ahead. Now, is it going to be difficult in the same way that it was in the past, where we are all physically in danger, where there's war on our streets, where we're all starving to death and being gassed, or, some type of biological weapons are being used against us? Who fucking knows? We hope not. They've already done that to us before. But what might happen now in the coming battles, again, is the mind war. It's that battle for your mind. It's the battle to control your thoughts. And all I'm trying to do with right now, through the Mind War podcast, is simply share with you some of the things that I've learned throughout my journey of freeing myself from those societal, cultural, and religious wet blankets that have been holding me down for my whole life. That never felt right, folks. I've told you that before. I tried to fucking believe. I tried to be a Christian so fucking hard, I almost joined a goddamn cult. I tried to be a patriotic American so fucking hard, I actually joined a cult called the United States Marine Corps. The hardest of the hard. The few, the proud, the Marines. I never felt comfortable in any of it. It always felt wrong. It never felt natural to me. I appreciate the things that I did, the experiences that I had, because they led me here today. To learn something new, to find information in all of the places we were told not to look. And man, as soon as you take that, just that one simple blinder off and say, maybe I'm going to start to learn some of those things that society, culture, and religion told us were evil. Maybe I'm going to take a look at those things real quick. They tell you they're evil for a reason, because they are the truth. All the things you've been told are evil. That's where the truth lies. Because they don't want you to know it, because then they would lose control over your minds. One must not believe that these things can be achieved simply with any kind of practices. They are ultimately a thing of mercy. That is to say, a thing of the fate. If fate hasn't played a role in my life, I would find that very hard to believe. The same way that we say here in the Mind War that there is no such thing as coincidence. So many things have happened in my life that fate can be the only explanation. It's not through fucking practice. It's not through religious practice that over and over and over again in my life, these supernatural type events have occurred. Sometimes very small sliver of supernatural in them. And I don't know what other word to use besides supernatural. I don't really know. But these things that have happened in my life over and over and over again, we've talked about so many of them, and we'll continue to share these stories as we go through. It's not just a coincidence, man. But as the author here says, it's ultimately a thing of mercy. And at this point, right now, I want to thank the cosmic dynamic forces. I want to thank the absolute, the universe, the God. I want to thank you for that mercy that you've shown me. I want to thank you for not letting me die in far off lands full of sand. I want to thank you for not letting me drink myself to death. I want to thank you for freeing me from the profane work that I did in order to pay someone else's bills and make someone else rich. That's the mercy that has been shown to me. And I didn't waste that fucking mercy. I honored it, and I'm giving it back. I'm giving it back just like I was instructed to do. I'm holding up my end of the bargain. Mercy is not forced by momentary exertion or school mastery passing of tasks. But it is a free gift from the gods, and itself the sign that in us a God is pushing us to embody him. He who does not have the demonic seed within himself will never give birth to a magical world. And that is what we are doing here in the Mind War. We are giving birth to the magical world. We are pushing this world to the new world order. We were promised a new world. We were promised a new order. And we are not going to let it be corrupted by the filth of the past. Again, this mercy doesn't come to you by the school mastery passing of tasks. What does that make you think of? Maybe a secret society where you have to go from one level to the next level as you do this and that and this and that, and repeat all the same bullshit that someone else wrote, and do all the same rituals and ceremonies that someone else came up with, so you can be the grand worshipful master level 33. Because you basically went to school and regurgitated someone else's teachings. That's not what we do here in the Mind War, God damn it. We break free from that. I share with you the simple, universal tools in order for you to find your own knowledge, in order for you to find your own mercy. It's not doing a set of tasks, whether it's from a secret society in order to try to gain your 33rd degree, whatever. It's not a set of tasks in order to become the deacon or the preacher or the pastor of your church. It's not what it is. It is a free gift from the gods, from the spirits, from the demons, from the angels, whoever the fuck you want to call it. It is a free gift. And most importantly, for those of us who have the gift, it is a sign that God is in us and is pushing us to embody him. We've talked about that so many times. You welcome these spirits into you in order to push you forward into becoming something new. He who does not have the demonic seed within himself will never give birth to a magical world. It's a welcomed burden to have that demonic seed. It is a blessing in so many ways because it has given me purpose. I no longer feel lost. I no longer feel rejected. I no longer feel like I'm being fucking lied to. I no longer feel empty inside. I feel those godly forces within me, the same way that you will. Whatever God, whatever demon, whatever angel you need to embody to push you forward in your mission, whatever your mind war battle is. Again, that's the beauty of what we do here. I recently had electronic communications with one of the citizen samurais here in the Mind War. After a few back and forths, they told me that they appreciate the work that I do. And I wanted to come on here and say, oh, that feels so good to have that recognition. But, good is such a faggoty word. That's too gay. Your appreciation for the work that I and we do here in the Mind War, because I couldn't do it without you folks. I would just be speaking into the abyss if no one was listening. We do this work together. It feels strengthening. It's encouraging. It's motivating to hear those words of appreciation. Not because I'm telling you to come here and believe the way that I believe. Not because I'm telling you to come here and join my church or join my company or join my corporation, whatever. That's not what it is. I'm not coming to you and say, here, join with me, stand next to me and fight my battle of the Mind War. Nope. Here in the Mind War, each battle is for the individual. There are no profane mobs, hordes in the Mind War. It's each of us as individuals fighting our own individual Mind War. And that's what we need it to be. That's where the beauty is. I don't want you here fighting my battles. I don't need you here fighting my battles with me. I got it, bro. I need you out there fighting your battle, because the battle that you're having is different than mine. And that's why I need you to have your own experiences and share them with others, because when you do, other people are going to say, hey, my battle is similar to that guy's. The same way that many of you are saying my battle is similar to Victor's right now. And you look at me and the work that I'm doing here, and maybe it gives you just enough fucking courage to fight your own battle. Just an ounce. I'm just giving you an ounce of courage, man. I'm just giving you a single teardrop's worth of fucking courage to go out and fight your own battle. That's what it is. I don't need you here fighting mine. I will gladly support you in your battle, whatever it may be. And we're going to support each other. But ultimately, we're going to be fighting our own battles, because that's how the culture grows and changes. I'm fighting specific enemies here in my Mind War battle. You're going to be fighting different enemies in your Mind War battle. And now we're going to have a multitude of different battle fronts. In the magical techniques that we're learning here are the ammunition we put into our Mind War machine guns as we mow down the front lines of those Mind War enemies that stand in front of us. Now, of course, come on, guys. Don't come out, oh, he's promoting violence. Fuck you. You know I'm not. These are all analogies. There is no physical violence here in the Mind War. It's not necessary. Some people might have to get roughed up a little bit in order to bring our cities and states and our country back into a place where we can be safe to actually enjoy the Mind War, right? But there is no preaching of violence here. Everything that we do is in the mind. All of the peace, all of the tranquility, all of the contentment that we desire so desperately is in our minds. It's ready. We see it in front of us. But for so many, it's off in the distance, because you have these hordes of profane in front, and you have to fight through them. And again, I'm not talking about physical bodies. I'm talking about the teachings, the lies, the gaslighting, the addictions, all the bullshit that is thrown at you in order for you to lose your own personal Mind War. You're going to fight through all of them. And then, together, we will give birth to a new magical world. Whew. I'll tell you what, folks. When I was preparing to come down here and record today, I consumed copious amounts of caffeine, and I just could not break this this exhausted, tired block I had in my mind. So, again, 2 cups of coffee, a cup of tea, and a can of Coca-Cola. I mean, that's more caffeine than I've consumed in the last month, folks. And I just couldn't fucking wake up. So right before this recording, I put the headphones on, I disconnected them from the microphone here, and I started to play some music. Some old country music that gets me riled up, right? And boy, I was sitting here in front of the camera before I started recording, and the tears were flowing. I was doing the breath work, doing the Kundalini. And it was just that feeling right before you're about to cry, your head just, right? It just feels clogged, and there's pressure, and then boom, that first tear starts to drop. All that pressure is relieved. And now these kind of chemicals of excitement and strength and alertness, they started to flow. And that's what really got me into the state of mind that you see right now, where I'm able to rant and rave on what I hope to be one of the best episodes here thus far in the Mind War podcast. Now, I know this has been a long episode already, but again, we're in it now. If you have made it this far, and you are actually going to use the techniques that I've talked about to truly practice magic, you're in the Mind War. You're in the trenches, you're fighting alongside all of us in our own separate Mind War battles. It's a beautiful thing. Feels good. And when we return, we're going to continue on my magical journey over on Instagram at The Occult Technician in just a moment. Welcome back, folks. We're going to continue on my magical journey over on Instagram at The Occult Technician. You're going to scroll all the way down to a post titled Fireplace Mantle Art, Thanks Bert. This was from August 1st, 2023. So this post corresponds with the video that I made called Guerrilla Marketing. You can find that over on Patreon. Join the Mind War today. Enlist at patreon.com/mindwar. You can find the video titled Guerrilla Marketing over there. And I basically just talk about some of the different projects that I did in order to try to get the symbol that you see here in front of me, this logo of mine, this kind of American flag pyramid triangle design. I wanted to get it out in front of people. I need people to see it, because as we've talked about with logos, sigils, symbols, idols, whatever you want to call them, the purpose of them is to take the knowledge and information that the person who created the sigil, the logo, you take that information and knowledge and you put it into the logo, you put it into the sigil, and you disseminate that information, you disseminate that knowledge through the logo itself, right? Things like the Christian cross, things like the swastika, right? Things like the American flag, they all represent ideas. And when you see them, you automatically think about the ideas, the information, the knowledge that is behind that symbol. And the same thing with my symbol here. And so one of the ways, and I know this is it's kind of silly. This is a very, so far been pretty intense episode. But basically one of the things that I realized was, okay, if I need to get this symbol out, I need to get it in the hands of people who have millions of followers, right? So as anybody who's been following here, I've been a big fan of comedy. Not so much anymore. The comedy landscape has really went downhill, which has been super fun to watch. It's so fun to watch the heroes of yesterday come crumbling down, right, in the pile of filth that they've all created for themselves. I was watching Bert Kreischer, a comedian, right? Him and I think Tom Segura were on one of their podcasts, and Bert had created a new studio in his house for his, I think he created his own solo podcast or something. Who fucking knows? They all have so many podcasts. Nobody's watching them anymore. They're all just trash now, right? But he mentioned at the beginning of the episode that he has a new studio and he's interested in hanging art on the wall. And boom, man, that light bulb just went off. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to send this art to Bert, right? So I took one of the actual physical pieces of art that I created, a wooden piece of art, and I sent it to Bert with a nice little note telling him how much of a big fan I was and hoping that he could maybe hang it by his fireplace or whatever. And man, that's exactly what they did. And so throughout some of Bert's videos, throughout some of his clips, including the one that we're looking at here, you see my art hanging up in Bert Kreischer's home. If it's there today, I would have no idea. You know, my guess is they probably took it down and burned it if they've seen any of my content about Bert, right? But this was a great example, again, of that guerrilla marketing, using different type of marketing techniques other than, just buying advertisements or whatever. I don't have the money or the means to do that kind of thing. But this was a way for me to get my sigil, my logo, my art into the eyeballs of so many people, because the videos where it's been displayed, they got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views from Bert's fans. And I thought, hey, that's awesome. And again, one of the funny side stories with this post is when I had saw this video and when Bert, first came down the stairs here and the art was in the background, this time in my life, around August 1st, 2023, again, I was very new to my art project. I was very new to magic. I had been trying to proselytize my family, which we've learned in season 1 of the Mind War podcast. Do not tell those closest to you that you practice magic. Be your own covert agent and keep all this stuff secret, right? This is kind of why there is secret societies. For as much as I blast against them, you do have to keep some of these things secret from those closest to you. Otherwise, they're just going to push back and they're going to make you doubt yourself and all that type of shit, right? So what happened at the time of this video coming out, my family had really started to take notice of what I was doing, and they did not like it. And there was a lot of rumbling from external family members about what I was doing, and they were really displeased with it. The funniest fucking thing happened is so many of those people who were talking shit on me went and seen Bert Kreischer do his comedy here in my home state just days before my video with my art hanging in Bert Kreischer's home, right? So again, they were talking shit about me. They were talking shit about my magic and all the different things that I do. They're huge fans of Bert Kreischer. They just saw him, and days later, I post this video saying, I think Bert Kreischer's a big fan of mine. Now, of course, I know he's not, but again, it was through the techniques that I practice, through the visualization techniques of my art hanging and sitting there on his fireplace mantle. All of that's those magical practices, right? Imagination, manifesting this to happen, and then doing the work, building the actual piece of art, wrapping it up, putting it in a fucking box, putting a label on it, and paying $200 to fucking send it to Bert, right? But man, it was all worth it. So again, that's a fun little post. Let's go to the next post from, again, August 1st, 2023. This was a night of a full moon. You see there, I'm actually starting to do a little bit of video in my bi-monthly rituals. Is trying to kind of bring some new aspects into it. Again, this is early days in the art project. So we look at the first one. We see some candles there. The smoke from the incense is going through. I have my obsidian ball and my tarot cards. They're all sitting there on a piece of one of the art pieces that I made. And in the second photo, I really like that one. The video is in black and white. I did it as a time lapse, and it really has that kind of old school black and white movie feel to it. It's real jerky. The flames are flickering. The smoke looks strange. And I really hope to use that again in the future, in future art projects. And then as we go through the photos, we see just different aspects of the night there. I pulled the Wheel of Fortune card. It explains what that is. And then in the last photo there, you see my altar prior to me doing my work. And again, one of the things you want to notice is that the obsidian ball is covered in a handkerchief, right? You really, when you have these magical commodities, these devices, right? Your black mirror, your obsidian ball, your crystal ball, whatever it is, it's fine to display them in your home, but they really shouldn't just be fully displayed. You should cover them. All right, so currently all of my magical accoutrement is in my bedroom in a locked case over at the Mind War Manor, right? So I moved much of my precious magical items over there because that's where I have to do much of my magic now since I'm staying over there caring for Father Mind War. So again, that was the post from August 1st, 2023. Okay, so this one's fun. This is going to be good here. So let's go to August 4th, 2023, the next post. It's titled Victory Through Work. And what you're going to see here is a video that actually one of my Gemini twins edited for me, okay? And basically this was me long before the occult technician even was a thought, long before the Mind War podcast had ever become anything, right? This was me making the art you see in front of me. These logos, these sigils, these symbols. It's so awesome to look back at myself creating this art and not knowing why. This is what I've talked about before. As you go through your journey, there's going to be so many things that pop into your mind where you go, I think I just need to do this. I don't know why, but I have to do this. It burns a hole in your fucking brain. These things will latch into your mind, these thoughts, these ideas, these imaginations, and you have to manifest them, and you do it by putting in the work, and that's what we see here in this video. I was doing this work not knowing what it was going to lead to. I had no idea what these symbols meant at the time, but I knew there was power in them, and so I put in the work. Now, this video also has a sort of heartbreak into it a little bit. If you see, so that's my garage here at the Mind War Estates, right? And if you look at it, I set my garage up, if you look at the background there, really to be a studio for what I hoped would be a woodworking channel, right? Your buddy Victor here kind of started all of this stuff with a very gentle purpose, right? I thought I was just going to make wooden American flags like so many other veterans do. Maybe I can sell a few on the internet. I would make some videos periodically showing people how to do it. I thought that would be fun. Something to give me purpose, something to keep me from just sitting around playing video games, smoking weed all day. So I created a little studio out there. The sort of heartbreak that comes from it is that never really manifested. I found myself on just a very strange journey that you're seeing here. I found myself on the battlefield of the Mind War. Again, looking back at that video, I had no idea any of this was going to come into being. I didn't know that I was going to be sharing with all of you the magic that I had learned, these magical practices. I didn't know that I was going to be listening to the Gateway Experience tapes and having some of the most profound experiences of my life. I sure as heck didn't know that while going through the Gateway Experience series, that right as we transition from self-help into helping others who have recently passed away, that my mother was going to be diagnosed with cancer and die before the end of that series was complete. I had no fucking clue. When all the other opportunities that have came and went since this video was created, right? There was so many different options available, and they all fell to the wayside for some reason. It was so confusing at the time because I thought, man, this is what I want. I want this, I want that. You know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And all of those things fell away because, again, as I've talked about, when you start to ask the universe, the cosmic dynamic force, the absolute, when you ask God to start manifesting things in your life, the things that you need are going to be manifested. And they rarely correspond with the things that you want. I appreciate you being here. And as always, remember, folks, harden your hearts and open your minds, because this is Mind War.